all around the world.
Yeah.
Come on.
Attention, this my boarding call. Bags up there against the wall. Step on a flight, be there by the night. Get ready, cause man, we taking off. No doubt, this world is mine. By myself when I lose track of time. No, I'm not new with that. Got my crew in the back, I feel alright.
Take me to my city. Look at the weather, it's so pretty. No need to be quiet, I'm making this live, so won't you rock with me? Just step up to the London town.
What?
Look at me now, I shut it down. Gonna make this world my own, won't stop, next up, this party don't go.
1,000 miles away. We don't care what the people say.
We don't care.
Cause love will lead the way.
Let it out, let it out.
Tonight we'll celebrate.
Come on, let's go. In the scene, life is a journey and this is my dream. Doing it for UK, LA, Miami, straight to the Philippines. Every city is a dance floor. Traveling the world like we on tour. That's right, I do it for Be More. My hometown, it's all yours.
We're 1,000 miles away. We don't care what the people say.
We don't care.
Cause love will lead the way.
That's right.
Tonight we'll celebrate.
Passport doesn't expire. International down to the wire. All this love got me on fire. Living my dreams past my desire. Let's go.
All right. Hey, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be in this rapidly changing, accelerating, ascending, chaotic, uncertain, interesting times that we find ourselves in. This is Metaphysical Meetup with Marc Live here on the Intuitive Prospector page. I am your host, Marc Lainhart, the Intuitive Prospector, here with you for another Friday, as we like to say, and gonna just share some spit some wisdom at you, talk about everything that's going on in the world, metaphysically, spiritually, transformationally, because there's just a lot going on, and we try to be here on Fridays for community, unity, or as I like to say, unity through community, and really, go searching for the diamonds within and the many hidden gems all around us, because there's a lot going on in our world. And I just want to share a couple updates with you, and then we'll get into today's message, which is the journey of curiosities and coincidences. And I've got a latest article that just got published out that I'll share with you and kind of go over some of the things that are happening when you are looking or prospecting. You notice I changed my logo down here today. It doesn't look like it comes through on the social media side, but we'll see how the video goes. But it's like, let's go prospecting. So if you're a lot like me and you're curious about what the world is, what your journey is, what life and death is, what is unseen, what is seen, science, spirituality, then you've come to the right place. This is where I show up on Fridays to give my time to work with people all around the world. My subscribers, followers of the page, I just want to say thank you. And good morning to my team of moderators that make sure that we keep the community inspiring and uplifting and positive. So we don't need people coming in and, the world of social media. The world of social media, I'm not a big fan anymore because people want to come in and, spam or advertise. Don't do that. You'll get blocked. You'll get reported out. You won't be welcome back to the community. So the best way to do it is not do that, but contribute to the community today, contribute to the message, contribute to making a positive vibration, a positive mindset to change not only ourselves, but the immediate sphere of influence that we have around us, and of course, the world. So if you want to learn more about who I am, what I'm doing, what I'm writing, what I'm podcasting, what events are coming up for me, just go right here to marclainhart.com, or you can internet search The Intuitive Prospector. And I look forward to prospecting with you in the days, weeks, months, years ahead, as long as however much time I have left here on the planet. How's that? Because the only thing guaranteed today is right now, not tomorrow. Can't go back and change unless you have a time machine. And if you do, I'd love to hear about it. Because if you have a time machine, I want to go back and visit all the main things that history has written about and taught us, and see if they line up. Everything from the pyramids to Buddha, to Jesus Christ, to the events on the Titanic, Bigfoot, the Loch Ness monsters, UFOs, extra dimensional beings. Just all the things that are just mystery and mystifying and metaphysical, and something that I've always been curious about. So if you're curious and you are wanting to explore and discover through mind, body, and spirit, then you've reached the right place here on Fridays. I do want to give a shout out to my subscribers and my followers over on my Patreon page. Again, those links are right here at marclainhart.com. Or you can go to the Diamonds Hub here through the Facebook app and click on that if you want to do a little prospecting. So good morning, just throwing out, good morning, Victoria. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. It's great to catch you live. It's been a bit. Yeah, welcome back. Hi, Nancy. Hi, Jane. Good morning. Joel. Hey, Joel Schillinger. How you doing, brother? Good to see you, man. Thanks for joining. So a couple announcements before we get started. First, obviously, you can see my t-shirt. I'm wearing the I've had this shirt for years. I had this when Tombstone first came out, the movie. I love the Tombstone. Well, maybe not when it came out, but I always loved Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday, both as Doc Holliday and as Iceman in Top Gun. And he was also in Top Gun Maverick, the sequel, which was a really kind of him and Tom Cruise saying goodbye. But I'm wearing this today just because I am your Huckleberry. But what's funny is in the movie, this is how history can get tainted or get skewed. It's really not, he's not really saying Huckleberry. If you know the Wild Wild West back then, if you were killed, you would become a bearer. And the handles on the side of the pine box coffins were huckles. So you would actually pick up a huckle as one of the carriers, and you would be a huckle bearer, not a huckleberry. Because I was always like, why does he say I'm your huckleberry? And what he's really saying, and how it got lost in translation, was I'm going to be your hucklebearer. So when we have our face off, shoot off, and you're in the pine box, I will carry you to your final resting spot. So I just always kind of found that funny. It just goes to show that our history is never 100% accurate, because it's based on, written by humans, which is subjective, right? There's always that influence. But it is, I'm your hucklebearer. But we can go with I'm your huckleberry. And I'm wearing, the closest thing I had to this hat was my hiking prospecting hat that usually sits up above my rain stick and my guitar. So I thought I'd just throw this on just to honor, to represent, for, say thank you for people that make us think about our own journey, the world around us, even if it's in fantasy, even if it's flying in an F-14 at Mach 3, what they did in Top Gun. It really triggered a memory because when he passed, one of the last movies that I went to with my grandma was Top Gun. And it was when the movie theater had just started to implement the surround sound speakers that would be, give that. And you could literally see the F-14 coming right at you. So it'd be coming right at you. And then the sound would go through the speakers behind you. And I remember walking out with my grandma. I believe this is the last movie we saw together. I actually went out and saw it together before she passed. And she goes, man, wow, that was a great movie, but it was sure loud. But that Tom Cruise, oh, he is a hunk. And I just, so it's, when people, it's movies or music that can inspire memories or trigger memories of people that have maybe been long gone or have recently transitioned over, but are not gone. They're only ever a thought or memory and love away. And that's what I teach on. So that's why I'm wearing this shirt today, to honor famous actor, Val Kilmer. I grew up watching him in many movies, and I figured I'd do the hat to just give him a shout out and, say life is short, live it, carpe diem, right? So today's message, we're going to be talking about curiosities and coincidences on the spiritual path. I just wrote an article. It's been published out through Best American Psychics. But I want to make a few announcements before we get started, because I'm so honored and I'm so grateful and I'm so humbled by your responses. Our YouTube channel just went over 35,000 subscribers. Intuitive prospectors that are curious like I am about the world around us and the world within and the world unseen. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for the follow. Thank you for the subscription. I'll put the links in the discussion if you want to click on that and become a subscriber. And again, you can get all the links here at my events page or online store at marclainhart.com. Okay. Also want to give a big thank you to, I was recognized, I don't know how, I don't know how it was, I guess it's voted on. I didn't know about it until the award came to me, but I was just recognized as West Seattle's local business person of the year for 2025. So I imagine that's based on reviews and based on my Google profile and all of that. But I just want to say thank you, because I didn't even know. Last year I got the Seattle Award, which just sits right off here, the Business Award Hall of Fame, because I got it 2 years in a row. But this is through Alignable. So this is just the local West Seattle area. So people that come and see me locally, my clients that are local, either in person or online or over the phone, what have you. But just thank you. When I set out, back in 2008 to start this journey of prospecting after severe traumas and tragedies, which I'm writing about in my second book. That's my first book behind me. Here's the closer version of it. It's called Reflections, and I reflect on the journey of. I'm a co-author with some of my professional colleagues, and we write about our perspectives on the psychic abilities, the spiritual abilities, the mediumship abilities, death and dying, intuition. All the different things that can play into this. And I started this journey 2008, and then I became professional in 2013, technically. So I've been doing this for a little bit, just still trying to identify and understand logically what this is all about. And I still don't have a lot of the answers. I on my shows, I don't claim to know it all. I actually, quite the opposite. I claim to know nothing at all. I just like to share, and hopefully through that sharing or that storytelling or that unity through community, I can inspire you, I can encourage you, I can motivate you, maybe help you carpe diem for today, because life is so very short. And so, hey, good morning, Susan. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Today's about curiosities and coincidences. And the article, one last thing. I've got a summit coming up. If you want to go to my events page, again, I'll put all these links in the Intuitive Prospector chat board as it's going on. So let me get over there, and I'll put those links when we get there. Sorry, bear with me real quick. I got too many browsers open, so I'm kind of lost on where I was. But I will put those links in there if you want to. There's a free summit coming up here in just a couple weeks here on the 18th and 19th of this month. We're having a summit. It's a free summit. You can go to my events page it's called Bridging Realms Presents How Do You Know You're Not Crazy Summit. How do you know you're not crazy summit? Because there was a time when I started my journey and I didn't have a lot of support, and I didn't have a lot of people that understood what I was going through, because I had experienced so much pain and transformation through the loss of both of my brothers, my father-in-law, all at the same time, a near-death experience, all accumulated within a certain time frame, and it was very overwhelming. And when I started to explore, when I started to prospect for what was going on, there was a period of self-reflection and looking within to be like, have you lost your mind? Are these abilities that have been opened up to you, that you're accessing this ancient knowledge and wisdom? Because I don't believe that we create as humans. I don't believe that we create knowledge and wisdom. I believe it's actually accessed based on what we do through mindfulness, through intention, through action. And there was a period of self-identifying, like, where do these gifts even come from? How am I talking to people that are no longer here? How am I connecting to my brothers? How am I knowing stuff before it happens? How am I, knowing things about people, and seeing their different, auric fields and vibrations, and going, this is overwhelming. This can, definitely make somebody a little crazy, right? But that crazy is such a stigma. And so this summit, we're going to spend 2 days on the 18th and 19th. I'm joined by some of my professional colleagues, and it's hosted by Reverend Venus Castleberg, who's going to be hosting it. And we're going to talk about the journey. Just because we don't see it doesn't mean it's not here. There's a lot of things that can validate that based on a scientific perspective: gravity, the wind, your Wi-Fi signal, the air that you breathe, right? There's a lot of things that we know influence us, but are just not seen with the physical eye. And so as my third eye, as my spiritual ability is open, there were periods where I'm like, I don't know, I'm open to this. And that's free will and choice. It's not for everybody. But years later, after I learned and was mentored and educated and traveled to many places around the world, I realized just how normal and natural this is. And it's the institutions in the society that want to label the craziness, or, back in the day, a lot of what people would classify as mental illness, I now see as spiritual abilities that are unfolding and awakening, and people just don't know how to resonate with this. I was literally just watching last night I've been watching it, I watch the different news channels. I don't spend a lot of time watching news channels because there's just so much bias and so much fear, and that's what drives media, right, is fear. But I do watch one, between the left, the right, and the center. One of the gentlemen who is a main anchor in the evening, he actually shared his story that he is autistic. And the ability to be a main anchor on a major network and be autistic was fabulous, was mind-blowing to me, because it just shows that we have so many labels, including autism, which is, I believe this month is the Autism Awareness Month. It's also my birthday, the diamond month, right? So the diamond, that's right here. But I was just fascinated because I didn't know he was autistic. I thought he was a little, curious. I don't judge, the cover is not the book, as we say. But I found it like, okay, he's so smart and intellectual and really conversational. And then he shares that he just wrote his new book based on how his dad raised him with autism, right? So we have these labels growing up, and some of them I've learned, people would say, oh, that person was mentally ill or hearing voices, when actually it could be your spiritual abilities that you're just running from, like I did for years, and not accepting them or prospecting further to understand what it is that's going on. So again, I don't believe that we create knowledge and wisdom. I believe that we get to a point where we vibrate and connect in, right? It's like I always tell people, I go back to Nikola Tesla when he talked about the secrets of the universe. If you want to start to unlock secrets of the universe, it's all about energy, frequency, vibration, meditations, plant medicines. It's all about, there's a bigger picture that's going on. And I was just like, wow. Like I always remind my clients that, they say, well, I want them to go to heaven. And, from a human perspective, we believe that heaven is up. And I was raised in Catholicism, so I was raised in heaven and hell is down, burning fiery pit with a red devil, just very psychologically damaging, that kind of scenario. But when you think about it from a metaphysical standpoint, you can't go up or down on a round planet, because we're a round planet going around a ball of fire out in space, which is mathematically incomprehensible. So you realize that this is only temporary, and what we see is vibrating at a certain frequency of the material body. And when the frequency changes, the same energy that's in your heart, which we call death, then the transformation, death is a beautiful moment, not to be something scared of, because it's a next moment of vibrating to that next location. Paradise is a perception. Heaven is not a location. Heaven is a vibration. And science is teaching us that. We're getting more and more in depth about what's going on in the world. So if you want to check out this summit, it's going to be happening on the 18th and 19th, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Mountain Time. That information will be in my events page if you want to get that. There's also still a free manifesting if you want to learn how to manifest. I did last month in February with my friend and colleague Katie Miranda. We did a class on how to manifest, and the power of manifestation is patience. And I'll tell you exactly how that works, because tomorrow, which will be April 5th, will be my 1-year anniversary of being released from the federal government because of my injuries and my surgery. So I actually retired a year ago tomorrow, right? And there is, and I'm grateful for that, because I manifested a lot of, I didn't want to work for the federal government anymore. I was tired of working for ignorant, narcissistic, very unkind people. And through the process and through the channels of everything that happened, I was able to retire early. And so here I am a year later going, wow, you did manifest, but you have to have power and patience. I call it prospecting power and prospecting patience to let that thing manifest. Because I asked Katie in our class, like, what's the one reason that manifestation doesn't work? And it's because people give up. So if you're dedicated to your cause and you're disciplined every day, one day at a time, set your intentions and take actions for manifesting your heart's desires. So you can get that at the events page. You can get the summit at the events page. We got a lot going on. So we got another podcast coming up this Wednesday. We're going to have a special guest. We're booked out now through the month of July with awesome guests with awesome different topics on inspired living. So you can look for Inspired Living wherever you get your podcast from. We're streaming through all major channels, including through Alexa and Audible. Just look for Inspired Living podcast or My Picture or wherever you get your podcast from. But we're going to have a great show this Wednesday coming up, and then another show on the 23rd, but we're booked out till July now. So I'm looking forward to all these guests. I get all these cool books and, you know, a lot of curiosity and prospecting. So just a lot of fun. And that's what life should be, right? You know, I've got a card right up here. It says the universe works fast when, you know, you're having fun. And so I'm having a lot of fun now, and I get to be retired. So in honor of manifestation, because I've been working on this manifestation to do this work full time for about 7 years. I went part-time with the federal government. But here's the irony of it. I was let go a year ago to retire early. And now you look at all the tomfoolery going on with the administration, the politics, and the federal government, and the layoffs. And, you know, just talking to some of my former colleagues that have either are still there and hating life, or resigned or retired or found a new job. And it was really like a blessing in disguise. I didn't like it at the time, but if you're patient and you manifest your heart's desires, things will turn out better than you ever imagined. So today, in honor of Garth Brooks, who I love, I've got my Garth Brooks World Tour mug. And the reason that I have this mug for Garth Brooks is he wrote a song that I've loved called Unanswered Prayers. And if you, I can't play it here for, you know, copyright and trademark reasons, but if you go over and just listen to the words, I was really, you know, kind of, because I'd been with the federal government for 23 years, and I had a goal to try to get to 25 or even 30. And life doesn't ask us what we want. We have to be flexible and adjustable, just like the snake in the year of 2025, which is the year of the snake, the year of the 9, flexibility, completion. And, you know, that was my goal, but sometimes we don't meet the goals that we envision. And now, a year later, I'm like, yeah, thank God for unanswered prayers. I'm glad that I'm not there, that unhealthy environment, you know. And it was an oversight agency, and the head of the agency got fired just a few months ago. He was one of the inspector generals. And the oversight that I used to do, I did it for almost 14 years. It's very, when you're in that realm and you see what's going on, I can see what's going on in the world and too big a government. And I'm not taking political sides, because I don't bring politics into my shows, but I can see and I can understand, because as a person that worked in oversight, there was a lot of things that were missed politically, bureaucracy, swept under the rug, we'll look the other way. And that's why the world is in such a state of flux. And this was from an oversight agency, right? So there's politics everywhere, there's bureaucracy everywhere, but I'm just glad I'm no longer a part of that. And I can focus on my work and my writings and my podcasts and my events, and just commune with you. So one of the quotes is in the song, because I can't play this song. Where was it? Right here. And just because he doesn't answer, he puts him in the term of he. I don't ever try to tell people what God is, sex orientation. I actually would say that God, in my experience and my connections, would be more divine feminine than male based energy, to be honest with you, more feminine based. But in the lyrics, he says, and just because sometimes I thank God for unanswered prayers, remember when you're talking to the man upstairs, again, man, we point up to ascend, but the man is not upstairs, the man, the God within is all around, including that divine feminine. And just because he doesn't answer doesn't mean he don't care, because some of God's greatest gifts are unanswered prayers. How cool is that? And so I'm honoring Val Kilmer. I'm honoring Garth Brooks for unanswered prayers to manifest and be patient for this to unfold, to be here with you today. And tomorrow is my 1-year anniversary date before I had my major surgery. I was released from the federal government, and thank God I'm not there with everything going on. So be open to things that don't work in your favor or how you expect them, and then they end up working out better, because that is the universe, that's the spirit, that's whatever God is for you working on your behalf to help you manifest your heart's desires. So also one other event, and then we'll get into I'm going to start getting the links over for you so you can start participating with me. I've got my Conscious Wellness Expo that's coming up at the end of the month locally here in Kent, Washington. I'll be in my same booth as I always am for the last, I don't know, I've been doing this for about 5-7 years now. And if you want to see me, that's going to be on April. We're having a summit, a free summit. You can go to my event, turn the volume down. That's going to take place on Saturday and Sunday, April 26th and 27th. I'll be there all day. I'll be doing lectures. I'll be doing demonstrations. I'll be sitting with clients, repeat clients that come see me every year. So if you're not doing anything and you want to come to a free event with lots of cool vendors, lots of cool stuff, right? I walked away. My last time I spent a lot of money on this Bismarck, because this reminded me of the Tazarac. And if you don't know what the Tazarac, I've just looked that up. It's based on a visual aspect of what 3-dimensional, 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional, 4th-dimensional, 5-dimensional construct would look like if we could visually see that. So if you don't know what that means, go look up Tesseract. Movie Interstellar was really good at Christopher Nolan, director. I love him. He was really good at describing and explaining what the Tazarac is, and that's the last stone I bought. It was pretty expensive, but they have lots of cool stones. I got all sorts of rocks from them. I'm a rock hound, obviously, but you can get readings, healings, sound baths, your auric field. There's guest lectures throughout the day. So if you want to join me at the end of the month, come to the Conscious Wellness Expo in Kent, Washington. I'll be there in the spring, and then I'll be again. I wasn't there last fall because I was going through my surgeries. But if everything goes to plan, I will be back there also in November. So I'm over on the prospecting page. Make sure to hit that subscribe button or follow button. And I'm sharing with you the Soul Adventures. This is my latest article. The Soul Adventures of Curiosities and Coincidences. All right, so there's the article if you want to check that out and follow along. And then this will probably be over my YouTube channel next month. So it's funny, I was just at my YouTube channel looking at how the page has grown. And one of the latest videos I did is, do we really ever retire? And I was like, oh, well, that's interesting, because I'm technically retired on paper, but I'm actually more busier now doing the stuff I love and getting paid to do what I love, which is the secret of life. But it's funny because I did this episode this time last year when I was going through it. So if you want to check that out, it's over my YouTube channel, Do We Ever Really Retire? And then this article that I just released this month, this will also be in my newsletter if you want to follow along on that. It's the Soul Adventures, because I like to coin everything as we're here, we incarnate, and we have all of these soul adventures. Not good, not bad, not indifferent, but we come here to learn. And that's the acronym that I use for life. Learn it from experience, because it's through that experience, through the school of life, that we can grow. And there's a lot of things. And, if you want to ask me a question about anything I've experienced a lot in my 50 plus years on the planet, from spiritual to mental to physical to extra dimensional, to aliens. These are the sum of my experiences. And that's a lot of what I do today is because it is the sum of my experiences, storytelling and sharing with you. And if you want to check out the article, it starts off with, and if you follow my journey, I love to blend consciousness and mindfulness and spirituality. I'm a spiritualist. I'm not religious. There's a big difference between religious and spiritual. I'm spiritual, but I also like to bring the science into what we do. And so I actually start the article out with Einstein. And Einstein says this: the important thing, quote, the important thing is to not stop questioning. Curiosity has its reason for existing, end quote. That's Albert Einstein, and most people know who Albert Einstein is. And then I break down the article to talk about what the definition of curiosity is. And I just, I went to uh, dictionary.com, just, so you can, what is the definition of curiosity? And it is the desire to learn or know about anything, a curious, rare, or novel thing, a strange, curious, or interesting quality or feature. And then the definition for coincidence is a striking occurrence of two or more events at one time, apparently by mere chance, the condition or fact of coinciding to occupy the same place in space, the same point or period in time, or the same relative positions. And that's according to dictionary.com. Those are the definitions of curiosity and coincidences. So why did I write about this? Because going back to Einstein, he always talked about synchronicities and coincidences are God's way of remaining anonymous, right? And whoever or whatever God is for you, or no God, or you're agnostic, or you're atheist, or you're full believer, you're all welcome here. But for me, it just kind of made sense, because as I started unfolding this journey all the way back in 2008, I would see a lot of patterns in things. And I saw this even before my spiritual awakening years ago. I saw this as a firefighter in the fire service, that things would happen in the power of three. And if you're a firefighter currently serving or retired, thank you for your service. Thank you to all of our first responders for the jobs that they go out every single day responding to other people's traumas and tragedies and chaos and mayhem. It's not an easy job. And so I just my heart and my thoughts and prayers are all to first responders, both active and retired. Thank you for your service, as well as our veterans. But what happens is I would see things in the power of three calls that would come in the same: 3 fires in a row, 3 car accidents in a row, 3 deaths in a row, 3 bar fights in a row. And I was like, what is this power of 3? And again, this goes all the way back to metaphysics and spirituality. You can go back and, Nikola Tesla always talked about, the curiosities of 3, 6, and 9, based on a numerology construct, based on the triangle, right? There's a lot even going on with the triangles, with the pyramids over in Egypt. The new sonar is showing that these pillars, there's large pillars that actually go down deep into the earth underneath the pyramids. And I've always said that the pyramids, because of the format of the triangle, based all around the world, not just in Egypt, are some sort of energy vehicle to move amongst the stars. You could call that multidimensional, multiverse. The movies represent it in our reality. Bending time and space, Einstein, Rosenbridge wormholes. And it's interesting because it's really upending the current status quo of what we think we know about the pyramids, and it just shows we don't really know what the pyramids are, because this new sonar technology that they allowed last year has revealed, again, knowledge and wisdom is we're accessing it, we're not creating it. It shows that these pyramids have pillars that go hundreds and thousands of feet deep into the earth. I don't know if they'll start burying them, probably not, but it's just interesting that our technology is allowing us to see something that's been around for thousands and thousands of years and have remained one of the great mysteries of life. But it comes down to that, if you're curious about that kind of stuff, and I would see the pattern of 3 and be like, what is that all about? These synchronicities or these coincidences. And so, I find that spirituality is a multifaceted concept that encourages a wide range of beliefs, practices, and experiences. It often involves our search for connection. It involves our search for meaning and purpose to something greater than ourselves. This article that I wrote, this adventure explores the curiosities and coincidences of our journey that can emerge within many spiritual traditions. You don't have to be a certain religion to understand the power of 3, coincidences, synchronicities, patterns, if you will, patterns of language and signs and symbols and synergy that is not necessarily seen here, but seen more here, or just known or felt based on your abilities. And I found that the intriguing intersections of both culture, psychology, and personal belief play a part in our understanding of such concepts like curiosities and coincidences. Why are we curious? Why, we've always looked up at the stars. Before we, had space travel, we were looking out to the horizon. We wanted to, prospect and explore and discover new lands, discover this new continent of America, or Antarctica. The list goes on and on and on of our curiosities. And now, as we've pretty much discovered most of the landmass on Earth, I don't say the oceans because the planet is 70% water, and we've only explored 7 to 15% of our planet underwater. So that means there's a whole bunch of stuff that we have not even touched the surface on based on our understanding of our own world. And that's the same with science right now. Science has only confirmed about 4% based on mathematics, based on concepts that support through mathematics of actual science confirmed. So that means that there's 96% out there. If you do numbers and math, that's 96% of things we just don't know yet or understand or haven't been revealed to us, right? And so, through writing this article, I found, this intriguing intersection of both culture and psychology and our own personal beliefs, our personal conscious bias, play a big part in that. And, it's such a broad spectrum of experiences that may or may not have a connection to an organized religion. You don't have to have the synchronicities or the coincidences or the curiosity and be in a religious format. Like I said, there's a big difference between religion and spirituality. I've done a podcast on it. I've done a past show here about it. And I'll maybe explain that if I have time. But, it often includes our personal beliefs about the universe, the nature of our existence, and our search for inner peace, healing, knowledge, and enlightenment. And even as Buddha said, if you get to enlightenment, you still got to do the laundry. You still got to tend the garden. Enlightenment is not this thing that you just sit on a cloud and meditate for the rest of your eternity, right? It's much more than that. So I find that many individuals, or what I like to call spiritual prospectors or intuitive prospectors worldwide, have reported profound and out-of-world experiences that they may interpret as a spiritual awakening, a spiritual ascension, a vision, a calling leading to some sort of transformative change in their lives. And these experiences often provoke curiosity about the origins of who we are, where we come from, the significance and the personal meaning to each and every one of you. So that's a little bit about the article if you want to check that out. There's another quote that I put in there. We're not sure who wrote this. It was from Anonymous, but it says, quote, "Coincidences are not accidents, but signals from the universe that you're on the right path and that we're on the right path." I guess I need to say we're on the right path because I'm writing in third person, right? Not first person. But also, Albert Einstein said coincidences is God's way of remaining anonymous. Again, whoever, whatever God is for you. So in this article, I actually wrote my first fictional story based on two people that have this coincidental lighthouse encounter. And it's the first time I've actually started to write a little bit into the fiction of my writings. My book behind me is more of a first person, where in this article, I really spent time writing a third person storytelling. And the reason the names have meaning within the story of people that have passed on. I like to represent people that have passed on, but remember them and give them namesakes. So, for example, Michael is a barista in a coffee shop, and Rochelle is a lawyer, and they have this coincidence of synchronicity of meeting up because she has a flat tire and he's going to explore a lighthouse. And the reason I use lighthouses is because for several years while I was in the U.S. Coast Guard, I took care of lighthouses all around the Pacific Northwest, and the Pacific Northwest are very known for their famous lighthouses. People visit them all the time. So I did a story and I put coincidence around the lighthouse and these two people, and it's the first time I did that. So I'm kind of putting myself out there. I've never really wrote in a fictional format before, but as my writing expands and I'm working on my second book, I just wanted to share this in the article and talk about our many soul adventures that do contain synchronicities and curiosities and coincidences. So I hope you enjoyed that. I did put the article on the Facebook page if you want to check that out. I'll also put the YouTube channel if you want to subscribe over on the YouTube channel. Love to have you join us over there. So put those links in. And then, of course, if you want to go to my events page, I'll put that in over there as well. So you go to the events page. Okay. So we've got the Crazy Summit in there. We've got the YouTube channel in there. Again, everything's at marclainhart.com. You have to, I've made the site if you're into curiosity, the site is actually quite fun to explore because I've got hidden gems and hidden things within the diamond library and things that make you go, So the website's not just your straightforward, boring, generic website. It's a website with a lot of different links and a lot of moving parts. So you may click on one and find yourself going to another place. That's intentional. I did that for a reason. So, yep, there's the YouTube channel if you want to check that out. Crazy Summit we got. All right. So what's also for the sound collection, I want to the show open. I always want to feature artists. It's called The Game by Jumbo was the opening part of that, and then Tonight We'll Celebrate is by Jag Mac. Those two artists, I have approval to use their music in my set list. So, but I always want to call them out and just say thank you for sharing your skills and your music genre and your abilities with myself and the community. I really appreciate that. So let's see here. So let's talk about just a few things, and then I'll get into taking a few readings, take a few call or the Zoom if you want to come into the Zoom room. Let me actually get the invite up for that. The invite link, got that. So again, lots of moving parts when you're the host, the editor, the producer, it's just like, so thank you for your patience while I get everything into the links. And if you find yourself over on the YouTube channel, then the links I'm talking about, I will put on the YouTube channel as well when it's going, or you can come back here and become a follower of the Intuitive Prospector page. All right, so the Zoom link is there. You can click in and come to the Zoom room once I open up the reading room, or you can comment, or you can call my business line, which I'll put in there as well in just a few minutes. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to finish up real quick on some of the things that can happen when you are moving into, those spiritual coincidences or the curiosity of who you are and why you're here and what's your purpose and what's the plan. And, and some people just haven't evolved. Some people haven't opened up, and that's okay, right? I've learned that, never judge a book by its cover. And just because you've evolved and ascended into more of that butterfly effect, there's nothing wrong with the caterpillar, but it's hard to have butterfly speak with caterpillar people. And that just means that this is your journey of growth and expansion. Some people don't want to grow and expand. Some people want to keep blinders on, stay plugged into the matrix. And that's okay, because that's free will and choice. And so, your spirituality curiosities or your awakening, you don't even have to apply the word spirituality into it. You can just say your curiosities and your awakening to the world around you. They often provoke, and I found this to be true within my own journey, they often provoke deep reflections that can help us feel connected to something bigger than ourselves, a community, something greater, and that something greater has many different connotations and labels, from God to the superior being, to Mother Divine, to Gaia, to the universe. It's what we don't understand, we try to label to have a better understanding as humans, because us humans think we are so superior in our knowledge, and we're quite not. We're not even a level 1 civilization in the grand scheme of the civilization 5. We haven't even hit civilization. What is it? The Kardashev scale is, I believe, what it's called. And we haven't even reached category 1. We're still a couple hundred years away from category 1. So if you want to check that out in Prospect, I believe it's called the Kardashev scale, if I'm saying that right. But hi, Colleen. Hi, Mike. Hi, Bilal. Hi, Ravi. Good to see some of the people here. So dropping in. So today we're talking about curiosities and coincidences. And some of the other things that I found in my journey and, just sharing with you today, synchronicities. And the synchronicities, and again, the ego goes, oh, that's a coincidence or synchronicity. But a lot of times, if you look deeper, there is actually a deeper message to that. So synchronicities is the occurrence of meaningful coincidences that seem to have no casual relationship, yet are deeply significant to the observer, to you. And for instance, thinking of an old friend and then unexpectedly running into them shortly after. I have this all the time. I get these drops, these what I call glimmers, and I'm like, oh boy, get ready for this, right? Or somebody's thought drops into my head. I'm like, oh, and then I get a call or I get an email or something happens just sometimes just a few minutes later or a few hours later or even a few days or weeks later. And I was like, oh, I was kind of, so you kind of have this radar system, if you will. And a lot of us, I guarantee you, almost every single one of us have had that deja vu moment And the deja vu is that sensation of already having experienced a current situation that you find yourself in, which some interpret as a glimpse into a parallel life or past lives. Prime example, I'll give you anything to do with World War II. History buff, fascinated by World War II. Don't know why, don't know where it comes from, but I had to go to Europe. I had to go to France, and I had to stand on the beaches of Normandy, D-Day. I stood on Juno Beach, I stood on Omaha Beach, and I felt like I'd been there before, and I had never been there before as this life, as Marc. And so that was my real, same with England. I've been to England. My first time, knew where stuff was. Even my wife and mother-in-law are looking at me like, how do you know that? And I'm like, I don't know. I just felt very comfortable. And the only thing I could, logically come up with is some sort of past life. What's funny about past life, whether you believe it or not, the research and prospecting I've done, every single major religion has a detail or points to past life experiences. But we call it deja vu because it's like, a glimmer, or in the Matrix, they call it a glitch in the Matrix, right? And it's not really too hard to think about. If there is a deja vu moment or parallel lives, Einstein talked about, spooky energy at a distance. If you take two atoms and you separate them regardless of distance, if one atom is indicated or triggered at the exact same moment, that alternative counter atom is triggered, and it's called spooky energy at a distance. And I can't remember the scientific term for it, but what if we do have another counterpart, another human? What if aliens and extra dimensional beings are not extra dimensional beings? What if they are us? What if they are humans from a different timeline or from the future, right? That'd be mind-blowing, wouldn't it? But the deja vu is what we call soul amnesia. And the deja vu is, trying to interpret this glimpse that you just have this awareness or knowingness, or you've been there before. And again, every major religion points and talks about it, but it's called soul amnesia because we're not supposed to remember what we're doing here from our past lives. It's like having the answers to a test. Yeah, you may pass the test, but did you learn anything from the test? Probably not. And so a lot of times the deja vu is just a marker to go, oh, okay, that was interesting. What does that mean? You may not find meaning at all, but you may change the course of your direction of your path, because we're here to learn. We're here to grow. We're here to, the three triangles, the Vulcan nut tattoo that I have on my back is all about birth, life, death, the three triangles. Again, we're back to three. And, when you realize that you're here to learn, the only way to learn is through your free will and the choices you make. And I always remind you the three choices, the 3 C's in life: make a choice, take a chance, see the change that you want to experience. And I'm experiencing and living that from what I was a year ago tomorrow. So again, thanks, Garth, for unanswered prayers. All right, so synchronicities, deja vus, angel numbers. I just had an experience with this that I want to share with you. Angel numbers. I had a couple here last week that had traveled from the middle of the state to have an in-person session with me. Beautiful session, beautiful mediumship. Spirit world was right on par with information and evidence and names. It still just amazes me what they can do with me as the medium. Again, what they do with me. They don't work for me. I work for them as the medium. But the gentleman had talked about this 57. He keeps seeing 57. And I tried to lay it out that the spirit world is so intelligent, it's never just going to be one straight answer. It could be, but a lot of times it has variance. So the 57 could literally be 57 steak sauce, right? You open the fridge, there's a bottle of 57 Heinz 57 sauce, right? You may have heard the term, I'm 57, I'm a 57 Heinz sauce based on my DNA. I've got people from all over the world. They got together and created me down the timeline, my ancestors, 57, right? Heinz 57, right? And so I didn't really think about but he goes, what does it mean? And I said, well, numbers, just like music, music and mathematics are cousins because of the patterns that the vibrations, both numbers, repeat, and music vibrations have an impact on us as a human consciousness. And so the numbers can actually derive, the number 5 can represent freedom, love, adventure kind of energy. The 7 can represent truth energy, finding truth, seeking truth, knowing truth. Those added up together equals 12. And then in numerology, you break it down to a single digit unless it's a master number. So that becomes a number 3, right? Because 12, 1 plus 2 is 3, which is about creative expressive. So I just shared the different aspects of what that might mean, but I asked him, what does it mean to you? Because that's the most important thing. It's your perception of the information that you're receiving. So we talked about it. It was great reading, but what happened afterwards was amazing because I didn't really think about 57 after that. I went down, got some lunch, started watching a little bit of TV, and I was watching, of all movies, I love Quentin Tarantino. You either love him or you hate him. I love him. I love most of his movies. I'd say about 85% of his movies I love. There's a few that I didn't care for, but that happens. But I'm sitting here watching Inglourious Bastards, and it's about World War II, right? So there's the connection, right? Synchronicity, past life. And in the part of the movie, she literally says to the guy, he goes, "Do you want me to leave?" And she goes, "Yes, for the 57th time." And I was like, okay, that was weird. Out of all movies on the same day, I get a 57. Then, not more than an hour later, I'm catching up on the news cycle just to make sure the world had an end, because I don't pay a lot of attention to the news cycle. And they're talking about a senator that was on the Senate floor for like 25 straight hours. And the last time that had been done had been by a segregist from the Confederate States back in the 1800s during the Civil War. I can't remember his name. Not during the Civil War. I'm sorry. He was a segregist in support of the South from the Civil War. And the last time that this was done, he had stood up for like 24 hours on the Senate floor, and that was back in 1957. So that's the second time that I had now heard the number 57 specifically referenced. And so again, Curiosities and Coincidence goes, okay, that's just interesting. And then I heard it the third time. I had seen an alert. It was about the one of the podcasts that I follow, and it was Joe Rogan's podcast, and he was turning 57. And I was just like, you got to be kidding me. So I had to look it up, what it is. So 57 is actually an angel number. And a lot of you may see repeating numbers, 111, 222, 333, 444, or 57. But I've done numerology as part of one of my tools for my toolbox and what I do, and I never had come across this 57. So if you want to look up 57 and its meaning, it's actually an angel number. And it's, many believe that the sequence of repeating numbers, or it coming up in different contexts, from news to movie to a podcast, it's a sign, a symbol, or a synergy. Again, synergy is blending your energy to what's around you from the universe or celestial beings, whatever you want to be it, angels, and often interpreted as messages or guidance. So that setting here led me to relax and have 3 different formats with the number 57, which then got me searching. Again, we have the internet today. When I was growing up, I wouldn't have searched that. I'd have to go to the library or get an Encyclopedia Brown, because we didn't have the internet. I'm BC, I'm before computers. And now I can get right at my fingertips and have all of that information that we've accessed, that knowledge and that wisdom, because again, we created the tools to access the information, and it was an angel number. So you may have angel numbers. So synchronicities, deja vu, angel numbers, dreams and messages, or dreams through messages. Some people experience vivid dreams that provide insight or messages during significant life events. And that's going to lead to your own perspective, your own interpretation around your own spiritual journey. I know that I dream almost every night. Sometimes I remember them, sometimes I don't. The ones that I do that are very, critical or very detailed, I'll put them in my dream journal and date it and time it and how I felt about it, and then come back. And I've got like 3 of these journals now that are filled just to say like, oh, what was that? Is there a glitch in the matrix? Animal messengers. I've had this connection to animal messages. Encounters with particular animals at meaningful moments can be seen as signs or messages. For example, seeing a butterfly during a period of transformation. I came face to face with a mountain lion. Of all places, I was up in Calistoga, California, wine tasting with friends, and literally was out on the cabin deck, and a mountain lion came out of the brush chasing a small fawn, and it turned towards me. And I had about a 30-second stare off with this 200-pound mountain lion. I felt like she was, I see she all the time, so I felt like but it was a female mountain lion, but man, it was intense. And all I could do is I had my coffee cup, and I just puffed up and told myself, don't run. But for me, that was a spiritual encounter, and I had to look it up. I told everybody after, the mountain lion went running off, chasing the fawn, and not me, thank God. Because I would have put up a fight, right? So, but in the end, that mountain lion easily could have taken me out. But it got me thinking, what was that all about? Why did that happen? Why did I just have this very adrenaline, excited, crap in my pants moment? Like, holy shit! Like, and literally, I remember my coffee cup just shaking, like, right? And it was true fear, fight, flight, or freeze. All I could do was freeze and puff up. So I looked up the meaning. What does it mean when you come face to face with a mountain lion? Cool story there, and the synchronicities and the coincidences is I came up on a gentleman by the name of Dr. Stephen Farmer. He's a PhD, and he wrote this book years ago called Animal Spirit Guides. And so I looked up what was the meaning of a mountain lion. And it became my first awareness and my first prospecting moment of working with animal messengers. And it was about, you can go look it up what it is. I know what it is, but maybe that'll get you curious to prospect for your own animal connection. But the cool thing about this book is 6 or 7 years later, when I started my podcast, Inspired Living, he actually was one of my guests, and he sent me cards, and I still have some of his cards, not here today in the decks, but it was a really cool moment because I found him through the internet, that intention. And again, I believe that intentions lead to ascensions. And 6 years later, he's a guest on my show. What's the odds in that, right? And he reached out to me. I didn't even reach out to him. His PR firm reached out to our show to be on. So again, synchronicities, deja vu, angel numbers, dreams as messages, animal messengers. You may feel a presence. This is very, very, again, I'll be talking about this in the You're Not Crazy Summit, that just because we don't see it doesn't mean it's not here and around us, right? We have to think in terms of energy, frequency, vibration, just like communication is a vibration off the vocal cord. So I always say that we have 3 eyes in life: 2 to look, 1 to see. Some people will open this, some people will not, and that's okay. But again, as you open this, these become more liars, and this becomes more reality. And there's a saying, who said this? Was it Deepak or Ram Dass? The more real you get with yourself and your journey, the more unreal the world gets. And I'm just looking at the world going, I must be getting real because the world out there is unreal, right? So feeling a presence, some people around the world have reported a loved one's presence, or receiving comfort from them after they've passed, or offering a sense of connection beyond life after death, a medium connecting and bringing forth information through an equipment, a mechanism that allows me to process and share evidential information with somebody that's no longer living. So how do you talk to somebody that's no longer living, doesn't have a vocal cord, not a physical presence? Clairvoyance, clairsentience, claircognizance. These are the clairs of working with your equipment, who you are as a radar system, to detect and tune in and connect and blend in synergy with that information that's all around us. Because I truly believe that all the information is all around us. It's what we do as humans to connect in to that ancient wisdom and knowledge and the spirit world, if you will. And that's not for everybody, and I get that. But on the reciprocal, I get judged a lot for what I do, and it's like, okay, that's not fair, right? I'm just going deeper down the rabbit hole for my own journey. You don't really get to judge me because it's my, but that's the ego, right? We live in an ego-based world where there's a lot of opinions, a lot of pundits, a lot of experts. And again, it goes back to people that claim to know it all. Plato talked about this, don't know anything at all. So I don't know anything at all. I'm just sharing my journey and my some of my experiences with you. So feeling of presence, healing touch. A lot of times there's stories of spontaneous healing that's seemingly impossible. You hear this about people with cancer all the time. They're terminal, and all of a sudden through a healing touch, or they did something, they traveled to a location, all of a sudden they're in remission and their cancer is gone. And science and doctors and modern medicine can't equate or rationalize like what happened, right? So that healing touch, which is attributed to spiritual beliefs, attributed to prayer, collective intention, unity through community, plant medicine, things that come from the earth versus taking a man-made pill. So there's a lot of things there that can offer, that coincidence or that curiosity. Intuition and gut feelings. We always say trust your gut for a reason. It's not your stomach that you're trusting. Your stomach may be growling because you're hungry, but the gut is right at your belly button. The belly button is the solar plexus chakra. The solar plexus is where you connected to your mother to begin life. That was your lifeline. That was your umbilical cord, right? That's why we cut it to incarnate into physical form. And so when we say trust your gut, when somebody's chirping in your head like, oh, that can't happen, that will never happen, and then it happens, right? Everything is impossible until it's I'm possible, right? Until science fiction before it comes science fact. But intuition and gut feelings are very powerful because it's instances where people have trusted their intuition and made decisions that led to significant positive outcomes seen as guidance from a higher power. That's the definition of intuition and gut feelings. I'm currently working on that right now with a big legal case that I've been in for over a year now, with my former employee, and I'm trusting my intuition. Even though the lawyers are saying this, I'm trusting my intuition because I got a message that began a year ago, and I'm staying true to that message. And so that's that trust process, right? Trust, patience, dedication, discipline, manifesting. This all corresponds And again, you can go to that manifesting class at my events page. It's a free event. You're Not Crazy Summit coming up at the end of the month. Conscious Wellness, or in 2 weeks, Conscious Wellness Expo, where I'll be in person at the end of the month. And we can talk about this and continue to prospect for life's many questions and unanswered questions. Life-changing books. I'm reading one right now that I wanted to share with you. This book was written back in 1984. It's called The Lost Years of Jesus by Elizabeth Clare Prophet. And what's interesting is if you know scripture like I do, because I've studied all the major religions from the Quran to the Christian King James Bible. And one of the things that I'd always question, and maybe you're there as well, is, okay, we learn about, Jesus approximately at the age of, I believe it was 12 when he was in the temple, and then a little bit later when he was at the River Jordan with John the Baptist. But then we don't hear about him until his 30s. And it's like, wait, there's a lot of years, during those so-called lost years, a child increased that wisdom and stature to become Jesus. It didn't make sense to me. And so in a nutshell, what this does is the Gospels recorded Jesus at the age of 12 in the temple, and then about age 30 at the River Jordan, and that leaves approximately 17 years unaccounted for. And so this book actually does a nice historical review of documents from all around the world. And, according to ancient Tibetan manuscripts, Jesus secretly withdrew from the home of both Mary and Joseph at the age of 13, and he re-announced himself as Issa, I-S-S-A. So a young Issa joined a merchant caravan, and destination was India and the Himalayas to study meditation, to study prayer, to study the Vedas, and so it's a very interesting book that really uses a lot of history to determine that, not everything that's in the Bible, it's not accurate. It's actually edited. There's, half of the letters that are in the Bible, I believe there's 66 letters in the Bible that are letters that were pressed into a book. Same with all other books, the Hindu Book of the Dead, the Egyptian Bible, the Quran. They're all letters because they didn't have a lot of printing presses at that time, right? And so, books were made based on subjective agenda and ideas. And there's over 45 letters that were left out of the current Christian Bible that are in the archives of the Vatican to this day. And I love to read them to gain perspective. But if you want to gain perspective of, I think, people like Jesus, people like Krishna, people like Buddha, they tapped in to that energy, that intelligence. And I'll give you an example, and I'll just give you some shout outs. Hi, Debbie. Hi, Victoria. Hi, Wayne. Hi, Marilyn. Hi, Laura. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. We're talking about coincidences and curiosities, and I'm about ready to get into the reading room. But I wanted to share one more perspective with you if I could. And, it's, the coincidences and the curiosity should drive you. So one of my curiosities is what we've heard over the years, Christ consciousness. Maybe you've had the experience. I've personally had the Christ consciousness experience a few times in my journey, both with deep meditation and dreams and prayer, and also plant medicine. And humanity has been taught humanity was taught to worship Christ instead of embodying the light within ourselves. There's a great book. I don't have it here. It's in my closet. The Gnostic Gospel according to St. Thomas. It's another perspective of Jesus's teachings, and the things that he taught on were misrepresented by the church at that time, the powers that be. They didn't like him preaching. To be honest, that's why they crucified him, because of the thing that he was speaking of was the 180 of what the church of that time, power, control, money, tithing, following. And Jesus is like, no, that's not what I was doing. And if you start to read these different perspectives, whether it's the lost years of Jesus and his search for other philosophies that we know, or the Gnostic Gospel according to St. Thomas, there's a lot of perspectives. And that's what comes back to life-changing books. These books can give you a perspective to really challenge you for your own curiosity to go down. And that one thing I learned about the Christ consciousness was it's about the light within ourselves. It's the path to free ourselves from control and fear, and to remember that we all carry that divine pattern of Jesus waiting to be realized. And for me, we live in a fear-based world, fear-based media. Everything is fear-based, false evidence appearing real. I don't like anything that comes with that fear-based energy. I become aware of it. I have a conscious bias to it. And I say, nope, face everything and rise, face everything and rise. Now, there is the 3 fears that I talked about earlier when I came face to face with that mountain lion, and that's fight, flight, or freeze. Everything else is a construct of our consciousness and what we make up. But the Christ consciousness, what's interesting, if you just take Jesus's word, and again, I put a little thing side by side based on this book, and this is one of many books. I read a lot of books for my podcast and my own just leisure time. So let me give you a perspective and you decide where that fits. Maybe you don't follow this at all, and that's okay too. It's a smorgasbord, it's a buffet. I present, you pick and choose, and we have fun along the way and we respect one another, right? So Jesus's words, according to scripture, was, quote, forgive them for they know what they not know what they do, right? The interpretation, again, moving from religion to spirituality, is they are unconscious. They don't know what they do from their current level of consciousness. Interesting perspective, right? Now you take another quote, be still and know that I am God. That's Jesus's words. But what was the intention of the words, right? Intention is all about ascension. And if you take that interpretation and apply it to spirituality, quiet the mind and know yourself as consciousness. Another one, quote, you are the light of the world. We hear that a lot. That's a big one, right? Especially in scripture. But let me give you an interpretation of Jesus's words and his intention. You are God disguised as a person. Now, the church at the time was like, oh, no, hell, no way. We are not letting people have that mindset to know that they're a God within. Nope. That's why they started to hate Jesus, and that's why they crucified Jesus. Another quote, the peace that passes all understanding, end quote. The interpretation from a spiritual standpoint, the peace of God can only be felt, not understood mentally. Powerful stuff, right? And one more quote, be in the world, but not of the world. That one was, to me, was fascinating. It was interesting. And my interpretation, based on my readings of good books, life-changing books, was don't get attached, lose yourself, parentheses, to the world of form, know yourself as formless. So those are some interpretations and food for thought. Again, I can't force someone to hear a message that they're not ready to receive, but we must not underestimate the power of planting seeds. And that's what I do on my shows. I plant seeds, you prospect for the diamond within and the many hidden gems that are all around us. And you explore through body, mind, and your spirit. So last topic here, shared experiences. Groups of people that experience the same unusual phenomenon, such as seeing as a UFO or a shared dream, which I had that when I was in my Coast Guard days down in Puerto Rico, which is the tip of the Bermuda Triangle. There was a few of us on the ship that had an encounter with a unidentified flying object. At that time, it was called a UFO. Today, it's called a UAP, which is identified aerial phenomenon, which has now since been changed in the last year, which is, again, interesting. Why are we changing names if they're not real? To unidentified anomalous phenomenon, right? So we went from UFO to UAP, aerial phenomenon, to unidentified anonymous phenomenon. And the reason being because not all UFOs are just aerial. What I saw was an underwater submerged, a USO, underwater submerged object off the coast, out in the middle of nowhere, no lights. Hellbop was up in the sky, 3:30 in the morning, just getting off watch. And we saw lights dance just like you see in Close Encounters of the Third Kind that came out in 1976. That's the closest thing I could reference it to. Out in the middle of nowhere. And it wasn't weather phenomenon. The mind tried to, it came up on our radar, was logged in the book. Many of us saw it, but we didn't talk about it the next day, which I found interesting. And these lights just danced. And every time we turned towards it, it would keep its distance. And it was lights, balls, orbs glowing, went into one big ball, went down the water lit up and it disappeared. So that was a shared experience. And to this day, that's what made me a believer of the ufology of UFOs, UAPs, what's currently going on in our society, because again, they've always been around and you can go back. That's not my opinion. That's the longest running noted historic conspiracy theory known to mankind is, are we alone? Are we not alone? And again, I believe that they're here just in different ways, in different vibrations, and slowly revealing themselves to us. And our government knows this. They've known it for 75 years. But that shared experience is something that can be driven in your own curiosity, your own coincidences, if you will. So, it can lead to discussions about consciousness and it can lead to discussions about collective experiences. But these phenomenons that I've shared with you today, I find they invite reflection on the nature of our own reality. They that interconnected of life and death and the potential presence of spiritual forces, whatever that may be for you. So that's all I got for you today. Let me go back over to the Facebook page. We'll get ready to do some readings for you if you want. You don't have to. Let me get to the Intuitive Prospector page here. Again, thank you to my subscribers. Today is Diamond Day, so if you're a subscriber, here in about 15 minutes, you're going to want to sign in to the Zoom room. That link is on the closed pages on my Patreon page. If you have to be a paying member to get the link. If you're a free member on my Patreon page, you won't have access to it. And so if you come in and you're not a paid member, you'll sit in the waiting room. So don't waste your time. Become a paid member. There's a couple different brackets that you can choose based on what, it's affordable. It's less than a cup of coffee a month, y'all. It's less than $4.99 for my Diamond Sub. But the first one will be at 11:30, so in about 15 minutes. And then this afternoon for my international clients at 3 p.m. So those are the two for my subscribers. It's the first Friday of every single month. I give my time to my subscribers, my followers, as a way to get back, and you can come in and we can have a conversation to prospect for whatever's going on: mediumship, psychic, intuition, life coaching, sound bath, breath work, sitting just in the presence, or asking me questions based on your journey. It's a great way to, for the price, it's a great way every month to interact and prospect with me. So that'll be taking place in about 15 minutes. So I guess I just dedicated and just set up my own timeline that I have 15 minutes to give you a reading here, so I can be ready for my Zoom subscribers at 11:30 and 3 o'clock. And again, everything is at marclainhart.com, first Friday every month. So with that said, I think we got everything in the links. Yeah. Right. And last but not least, I'll put a link in. Okay. So let's get back over into the show. All right. All right, so we're back over the feed. When I leave the feed, I lose some of your comments. Hey, Rafe. What we're going to do now is we're just going to pause for a second. Just take a deep breath. 3 ways to get a hold of me. Phone, I'll put the number in. Zoom link is already up. So if my moderators that are here today, if anybody needs that Zoom link, it's up above in the comments. Or you can start to post your comments now. If you want to book read, a card read, or ask me a question, this would be the time to do it. Look for the avatar. Let's see what's a good avatar. I'll put an avatar that says hello. Let's see. Oh, we'll do good morning. How's good morning? That works. 206-588-0661. That's in the comments section. That is my business line. If you want to give me a call. So right now it's 15 after the hour. So let's open up the reading room. I usually take a break, but because I've got readings scheduled at 11:30 with my subscribers, I won't take a break. So go ahead and start posting your questions now. Reading room is open. Zoom link, phone line is open if you want to call me, or if you want to post a comment asking for a card read. If you want a certain deck, 1 through 14, I've shuffled out a few of the decks now. I've got tons of decks that are sent to me, but I've got 14 decks. So you can tell me the deck number, what card number you want in that deck, or I can choose for you. We work in the digital aspect of the Zoom room, the digital universe, if you will, the quantum aspect of doing a reading these days. So come into the Zoom room, give me a call or post a comment, and I'll give it a second for that to stream through. If I miss your comment, I apologize. Sometimes the algorithms, I don't see them real time. There's sometimes a delay. I apologize. Just if you've asked a question previous, just put bump, little asterisk, and then ask your question again, just so I know that I missed it in the algorithm. So hi, Rosa. Hi, Kim. All right. Hi, Tracy. All right. Thanks for being here. Colleen says, the believer in me recognizes the believer in you. Ooh, powerful stuff. I like that, Colleen. Yeah, that's very, very true. Very true. Yeah. Hi, Sandy. All right. So you've got any questions for me? Reading room's open at least for about 10 minutes, and then I've got to get over to the other Zoom room for my subscribers, my Diamond Sub subscribers, my Patreon prospectors. Those are 2 ways to follow the subscription model if that's what you're into. And if not, then we'll see you next Friday for another, Metaphysical Meetup with Marc. But first Friday is always Diamonds Days for my subscribers. So, hi, Blue Earth County. Hello to you. Wait, Blue Earth County Republicans is watching. Okay. So I like to give people shout outs. So I'll just sit here, at least get one question. I got 10 minutes. Hi, Terrence. Yeah, you want to check out a good book, The Lost Years of Jesus, if you want to gain perspective. I just find it very cool that he, based on historical documents, he actually studied the Vedas. So that's interesting because that's all based on Buddhism, the monks, levitation, ascension, out of body, auric field. There's just a lot that's there. Very ancient stuff too. So pretty cool stuff. Hope you have a good weekend too. It's Friday. It's going to be nice here, so I'm going to be working around the house, just getting stuff done, getting ready for the summer. Right, we're now in the longer days. The sun is shining, especially here in Seattle. All right, so let's see here. I'd love an animal spirit card for the week, please. Okay, you got it. So Victoria, take a deep breath. Let me get to the. You know what? I don't believe that's one of the decks I have out. So let me hold on. It's off. It's not in the. I don't know if I have it. Hold on. Okay, here you go. So actually, these are the cards I was just talking about. Dr. Stephen Farmer sent to me. I've got an old crystal deck. Like I said, I get tons of decks from people, which I love. So thank you to all that have sent me decks, and we got stacks and stacks of it. Rocks and cards, and I don't know what I do. It wasn't always the case years ago. All right, so Victoria, take a nice deep breath. You want me to pick the card? Wait. I'd love an animal card for the week, please. Okay, so do you want me to pick or do you want to pick? And if you pick, you say stop or tell me what card number. I'll shuffle real quick. I haven't used this deck in a while, so thank you for that, Victoria. Hey, Simone. So do you want to pick or do you want me to pick? And if you want me to pick, I'll just pick a random, or you can just type in stop while I'm shuffling, Victoria. So Victoria is asking for an animal spirit card. We got 10 minutes, and I'm going to shift it over to my subscribers platform for my subscribers, my Diamond Hubs and Patreon prospectors. So Victoria, let me know what you want. Do you want to pick or do you want to? I'll shuffle. You type in stop. How's that? Whenever you're ready. Give you about 30 seconds to. Okay, I have to reshuffle one more time. So Victoria, type in stop when you hear the word stop in your mind. So Victoria said, okay, so please just type in stop, hon. I'm just shuffling the cards. Stop. Perfect. Nice job. Nice job. All right, here's your card for today. Set this off. Anybody wants another animal spirit card? Again, that's one of the messages I talked about today in Curiosities and Coincidences. Your card this is a great one. This is for everybody. I'm going to take this to heart as well. Learn from your mistakes, and it's the coyote. So if you come across the coyote's going to trigger the message of learning from our mistakes. And that's what we're here to learn, right? I remind people to have failure in your life, first attempt in learning, because that's why we're here. So if you fail often, you fail daily, don't get down on yourself. You're learning, right? My mantra is, if I don't win, I learn, right? If somebody says no to me, okay, that doesn't mean I have to stop there. That just means next opportunity, right? So the coyote appears, it's going to be a reminder. And again, y'all, for those that are the languages that I'm talking about and teaching about and writing about and podcasting about, it may not be an actual coyote that you see out in the wild. If you don't go out in the wild, how are you going to see a coyote? You could see it on the TV. You may see a movie called Coyote Ugly. You may get a reference in a song. Is there a song with the word coyote in it? I'm trying to think. I think of the movie Coyote Ugly, where they get up on the bar and dance the girls. So you may get a movie, may see a book, or you may come across a magazine. Anybody has a good song that has coyote in it? Pop it in the comments section. But again, that's what I'm saying. It may not be what you think it is, because your expectations will usually lead you to self-disappointment, because your ego is expecting to see a coyote out in the wilderness, and you haven't gone out in the wilderness. So how are you going to see a coyote to learn from your mistakes, right? Because they find intentions of delivering that through many different medias. So does that make sense, Victoria? Learn from your mistakes? I can totally apply to that. Hi, Angela. Hi, Michelle. All right, great card. So again, we got a few minutes here before I have to get over. We got 8 minutes, and then I got to switch over to the Zoom room for my subscribers. Again, if you want to be a subscriber, you can subscribe at marclainhart.com. Facebook, just go to the up above. There's a link for my Diamond Hub subscribers. That's $4.99 a month, which is less than a cup of coffee. Or my Patreon is an external link outside of Facebook that is got a couple tiers: $2.22, $4.44, $5.55, and I think $7.77. Everything is, but you get different things from that. So I definitely been learning, but I've kept moving. Great card. Thank you. You're welcome, my friend. You're welcome. I think we can all learn from that, to be honest. It's a great card for all of us to have. So learn from our mistakes. Can I have animal card? Well, card 18. You got it. All right. So deep breath, Colleen. Hopefully there's 18 cards here. I'll count them out. You had to pick 18 too. Well, I guess it's better than 80, right? 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Oh, the raccoon. I call them trash pandas here. I actually have a family that's over in a big tree outside my studio. They're actually pretty fun to watch, raccoons. But the universe for you, Colleen, is saying, based on that number 18, if you see the raccoon, it's telling you that you have everything that you need. You have everything that you need, the raccoon. There's also a butterfly in here, which means growth and transformation and healing. You also picked the number 18, which in numerology, the 18, the 1 represents independence. The 8 represents manifesting your desires. And then 8 plus 1 is 9, which we're in the year of the 9, which also represents completion. So pay attention to 1, 8, 9. Pay attention to the raccoon or butterfly, but it's the universe is just acknowledging you have everything that you need. And there's always that psychological approach to we can choose what we want to see, or as Dr. Wayne Dyer says, if you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at start to change. So it's subjective, right? It's your perception. But I'm telling you, the coincidences and if the curiosity drives you, the coincidences and the synchronicities will start to happen, and they usually come in the power of 3, pattern of 3. So pay attention to that. And again, that's not just my education and knowledge of this subject. It goes all the way back to great minds, from Einstein to Da Vinci to Nikola Tesla, and they always talked about the numbers 3, 6, and 9. Very fascinating, based on mathematics, based on music, based on scale. So, all right, any other questions? I've had one in my tree all week. Oh, interesting. That is. Hey, Wade and Sarah. Welcome back, Nancy. Hi, Elena. Hi, Pat, Austin Porter. Wade and Sarah. Oh, I just said your name. Okay. So I got a couple people tuning in. Love it. Thank you so much. You're welcome, Colleen. Thanks for all you do, and thanks for being here today in the community and keeping this community unity through community, keeping it uplifting, inspiring, motivational, encouraging. That's why we're here on Fridays. That's what this space is. So if you found your way here, welcome. Let us know where you're from. We get people tuning in from all over the world. And if you're looking for positivity and encouragement in a world gone crazy on Fridays, we're here at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm here in Seattle, Washington. You can learn more about me here at marclainhart.com. I will be on the air Wednesday for a new episode of Inspired Living. You can get Inspired Living podcast wherever you get your favorite podcasts from, including through Alexa. Just say, Alexa, open up Inspired Living podcast. I will play last week's episode, and then which was a great episode. I had a lot of fun with it. And then also through Audible. So if you find us, download an episode. We've got 9 seasons with all sorts of different information and topics and experts and guests, and it's what I call spiritual awesomeness. Leave us a review. Give us feedback so we can improve and get better at what we do. So, all right. Hi, Clean. Hi, Michelle Young. Any other questions? We've got 4 minutes. 4 minutes, because I gotta switch. I gotta get out of this room and get into my subscribers room for my subscribers. That's first Friday of every month. Diamond Days. We can have prospecting fun in the Zoom room. So love to see you over there. First session's at 11:30 in about 4 minutes Pacific Standard Time, and then again afternoon session this afternoon at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So check your local time zone wherever you're at in the world. All right. Hi, Valerie. All right. Last call, last call, last call. Love the spirit deck. I'm going to go, maybe I'll keep it out for a little bit. Been a while since I used this deck. All right, last call. Last call, last call, last call. Again, check out my article, The Soul Adventures of Curiosity and Coincidences. Now published out. Links are up above if you want to check it out. And it's also my first fictional story about coincidences of 2 people converging in a lighthouse. I hope all you beautiful souls have a wonderful week. Much love to all. Thanks again, Mark. You're welcome, Victoria. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. So we'll see you next week, or we'll see you down the road, right? All right, one more minute, and I got a cue down. So let me get a song to close us out with. And as always, thank you for hanging out with me on Fridays. But it's to the time where I have to say namaste, namago. I hope you have a great weekend. Take it one day at a time. Observe, don't absorb everything that's going on in the world. There's a lot going on, and FYI, there's more to come. Again, if you follow my work and my journey, you shouldn't be surprised. I talked about right where we're at today back in 2017, our roaring 20s of transformation, change, and ascension, and transformation big time. So we're going through that. So have a great rest of your weekend. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'm Marc Lainhart, the Intuitive Prospector, always exploring through mind, body, and spirit, or as I like to say, dare to dream, dare to explore, dare to live, and discover that diamond within. And we'll see you next time here. And a cool song to close us out. Let's see here. Let's go with, okay. Let's go with Hero. That's a good song, because there's a lot of heroes out there that are, making our world a safe place, from our first responders to our veterans to our military folk. And so you're all heroes. And I just want to say much gratitude and love. And again, thank you for all of the feedback I've gotten this last year when I started my own transformation. And I look forward to seeing you at another time, or at our events coming up here in April and through 2025. All right, until our next soul adventure together, be kind, be caring, be compassionate. And again, most importantly, whatever you're doing, wherever you are, dare to dream, dare to explore, dare to live, and discover that diamond within. We'll see you next time here for Metaphysical Meetup with Marc. Take care.
Have you ever been the face, been the object of someone's hate? Like you stood all alone. Have you ever felt this way? Have you ever been betrayed, labeled words you just can't say? Suffered silently, wanting to be erased. There's a reason to believe again, when faith is nowhere to be found. Try to find the strength to try again and stand on solid ground. You keep searching for a hero. You just want to find a friend. You just want to make a difference. Bring this battle to an end. All the words that make you stronger. When you learn how to look within, if you're the hero that you're after, you are the hero, hero. You are the hero, hero. You are the hero, hero. You are the hero.
One planet, 7.3 billion people, only one you. Life offers us many opportunities and learning experiences. Are you ready to explore and discover this beautiful planet, the life and energy all around us, the spiritual world, and what is unseen, along with your own personal soul adventure? Marc Lainhart, the Intuitive Prospector, is the spiritual connection you have been prospecting for. Internationally known as a tested and professional clairvoyant medium and spiritual advisor, Marc's work as a metaphysical teacher, medical instructor, radio show host, inspirational writer, and hiking guide are here to help you on a journey of self-discovery, healing, inspiration, education, and a whole lot of spiritual awesomeness. Dare to dream, dare to explore, dare to live. For more information on Marc's spiritual practice in Seattle, Washington, please visit marclainhart.com or internet search The Intuitive Prospector.